This is part 2 of the video, in which I talk about the books I read in January. So then I finished Invisible Women by Criado Perez. I started reading this in January. This is a non-fiction book about the gender data gap. And thank you to Jack from Spread Book Joy who recommended this book. I had bought it before, but I hadn't picked it up yet, and she inspired me to pick it up. I absolutely loved it. This is a very important book, I think. I knew some things, but I had no idea of the extent and the impact of some of these things. And yeah, amazing book. I would recommend it. I think I put this in here for a reason. Yeah, it's been a while since I finished this. This page talks about autism and ADHD, which is why I marked it. I don't quite recall now if there was something specific that I wanted to mention about it, or whether it was just I wanted to mark it for myself. The book is a little bit worse for wear because somehow it got water damaged. I don't know if you can see that. I don't really know how that happened, but anyway, it was an amazing, excellent book, and I would definitely recommend it. A lot of the times with fiction, I feel like that it would appeal to some people, but other people might not like it because fiction recommendations are kind of more personal, I think. So I hesitate to recommend the book to everyone. But with this book, and also because it's non-fiction, yeah, if this sounds at all interesting to you, I would definitely recommend this. This was amazing, and I think my favorite read of the month. I mean, if I had to pick one, this was, yeah, loved it. 10 out of 10, 5 stars, yeah. Then I finished Biased by Jennifer L. Eberhardt, PhD. The subtitle is Uncovering the Hidden Prejudice That Shapes What We See, Think and Do. Here's the back. This is a book about racial bias, mostly in the United States of America, but not entirely, I think, but the author is from there, but yeah, not entirely, I think. Anyway, this was really good as well. Yeah. I really like this one as well. Also an important book about the unconscious bias that people can have and research. The author talks about her own experience as well. Some part of the book she, for example, visits police. Well, she gives a lecture in front of police and talks about some research, and yeah, I thought this was really interesting as well. Sorry for maybe not being as eloquent today as I would like. I'm very low energy, low spoons, tired. Sensory overload. I listened to quite a bit of music yesterday while I was doing something, and yeah, this is the reason why I can't often do that, because it just apparently completely wipes me out the next day. But yeah, I want to film this video. This was a great book. I found it very interesting. And I picked that one up because of Kayla from Booksandlala's recommendation. Although I think I already owned it, but then recently she, in some video, she read it. Although I say recently, but I'm kind of behind watching BookTube, and when I picked this up it was January, but anyway. The next book I finished is Feminist by Roxane Gay, which I think was also a Booksandlala recommendation. And I also had owned it for a while, but she made me pick it up. Anyway, this book has essays about feminism. And yeah, I really like this as well. Loved some essays, others I found a bit less interesting. But overall, I really liked most of them. Found most of them very interesting. Again, it's been a while since I read this, so I can't precisely remember everything. The most memorable thing to me about this book is the essays to do with the Scrabble competitions, because I did not know that was a thing. So the essays are not just about feminism, and they're separated into different parts in the book with different subjects, but they do have to do with feminism. Some Burning Rays, there's some in which she talks about some TV shows, most of which I have not seen. She is from the United States of America, I think, and I'm from the Netherlands, for those who don't know. So but yeah, overall I found this book really interesting. This book also talks about being queer, although I don't know if that is the word that's used it's called Gender and Sexuality. So I would call it LGBT, but the overarching part of the book is called Gender and Sexuality, Sexual Race and Entertainment, Politics, Gender and Race, and then Sexual Self, and yeah. Anyway, I really like it. Then I've finished Disfigured by Amanda Leduc. This is on fairy tales, disability and making space. This is a book about disability in fairy tales and the representation or lack of good representation in it. Whenever there is disability in fairy tales, it is usually from the part of the villain or seen as something bad, or, well, that's what this book is about. So the author, who has cerebral palsy, discusses various fairy tales with spoilers. She also talks about her own disability. So after each chapter, we also get a part about certain parts to do with how she was diagnosed with this, how the process went, and stuff like that, surgery she's had. I really like this. I would have given it full marks. It would have gotten 5 stars or 10 out of 10 if it wasn't for the fact that the afterword, which is at the very end of the book, spoils without warning a much more recent something. And Game of Thrones, a TV show, which I haven't finished watching. So yeah, I skimmed the afterword because I didn't want to read any more spoilers than I already had. Now, I think it's totally fair that in the rest of the book, the author talks about fairy tales. They are centuries old. I don't mind her spoiling them. I knew that going into it. In general, I do mind it when people spoil books. I mean, I knew that going into it, that she would spoil those fairy tales, and I'm okay with that. But the afterword without warning spoiled the TV show of Game of Thrones. And the reason I didn't finish watching that is because I didn't live here yet. This was in the old, when I lived with my parents on their property in the bakery. The TV signal was getting very bad when they were broadcasting season 5. And so it was getting so bad that a couple episodes into season 5, we just had to give up because the signal was so intermittent. We could not get an inkling really of what was going on. And it took a while before that was fixed. I don't think it was fixed until after they finished airing the whole season. And then by the time that the Blu-rays came out, I lost interest a bit. I have read all 5 of the main books. I really would like to read the 6th and 7th book whenever the author finally finishes them. But yeah, we do have, I did most of the Blu-rays, I think all the way up to season 7, but I didn't buy the season 8 one yet. We didn't go back yet and we watched it. I prefer the books over the TV series, to be honest. But anyway, so yeah, I didn't appreciate the afterword spoiling parts of that. It does make sense in what the author was trying to do, in that she wanted to compare something much more modern to these old fairy tales, which makes sense. It's just I would personally have preferred a content warning because that TV show is much more recent than centuries old fairy tales. I'm quite sensitive for spoilers. I have in the past been spoiled for books, TV shows, movies, games, and I never like it when that happens. So do give spoiler warnings, unless it's very obvious that there's going to be a spoiler, and then I know that I can avoid it. There are certain things I still haven't picked up because I can't stop thinking about the spoiler. So yeah. Okay, that was a slight interruption, and now I don't quite remember where I was with this book. So yeah, spoiler warning for the Game of Thrones TV show in the afterword. Tread carefully if that matters to you. But that was really just the last part of the book. Everything else I really liked. 5 stars for the rest. So I gave it 4.5 stars in the end, or 9 out of 10 in my system. Yeah, I thought this was really good. Definitely stuff to think about. I found it really interesting to read about the author herself as well and her disability. It also talks about the history of fairy tales and when they were first written down and stuff, that they used to be told orally, all of that. So yeah, I found this really interesting, and yeah, definitely important message. Obviously, content warnings for ableism in some of these fairy tales and things, but yeah, the book definitely discusses ableism with the author being disabled. She obviously condemns, well, that's not obviously maybe, but she condemns ableism and talks about it, and yeah, really good book. Thank you very much for watching part 2 of my February videos. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you will also watch part 3 when it's out. Bye!